thing that I would chip in, right? For those who are seeking to network at events, always know that quality is better than quantity. The quality of connections you make is always better than quantity. If you meet 100 people and your end goal is not met, it doesn't matter.
By the way, welcome to the pod, people. Today we have Ikemini. Ikemini, Wages of Sin. We've been on the pod before, and it was about tech from the trenches. Me, you, that bastard Deja Vu,
Yeah.
and what's that guy's name again? Sorry.
It was me,
I
you
know this guy.
exociate. Me, you
He's
exociate.
Exosia. He's Exosia. I'm just saying what's the guy's name again. On today's episode, today's pod, we're going to be talking about like how do people maintain relationships. So a lot of tech events are coming up from now. Like from now, we're already seeing flyers for tech events coming at UDC. Then there's more coming up down the line for like other different tech events. So it's from now till June, we have a whole lot. Then we'll not have December period, then we'll not have the big guys that are coming like Google, Microsoft, and all of that. And what happens at tech events all the time is people exchange numbers. People go eat, watch, and exchange numbers. But what happens after? Like, what happens after all of that is done? How do we maintain that relationship? Or all of us just view each other's status? Like, I'm curious
So
to hear your points.
So basically, when I approach events like that, all right. So I love attending events, basically, most especially for the networking, right? When you approach these events, you need to have a certain what's what I use? A certain expectation. Of course, people do. So are you going to learn new stuff? Are you going to network? Are you going to, you know, reach out to lost contacts, people that you've not seen before? We have all these expectations, right? It first of all starts with the way you network with people. Say I go for an event and I meet two people, A and B. With A, I strike a very friendly conversation. We the aura around how we meet is quite friendly. Following up is going to be different from, say, I see maybe a senior colleague in the field, right? And then, you approach them with that kind of, for lack of a better word, that kind of reverence, like, boss, what's up? You understand?
Mm-hmm.
The way you would approach if you're coming from the friend angle, I'd like to just have this person in my corner. It's different from, say, you meet somebody who you want to impact on you, right? How you approach those differ. And in the long run, it also sets the tone for the nature of the relationship going forward after that event, right? A lot of people, what they do, first of all, is one of the first things is by virtue of how they meet people, right? By virtue of how they meet people, you
Mm-hmm.
you find following up would be different. Now, what do I mean by how you meet people? In the name of networking, they they want as much people in their circle as possible, that they really do not filter the kind of people that come into their circle. We just talk, vibe, get your number, talk, vibe, get your number, talk, vibe, get your number. And at the end of the day, it's just, okay, I have a bunch of numbers. What do I do with this thing? Right? People usually fall into that trap more often than not. You cannot take away the place of organic growth, organically growing a thing. So you see people that organically, okay, you see somebody, you like them, maybe you want them to be a mentor. The way you approach that relationship and cultivate that relationship over time is different from the way somebody who just sees an person and be like, boss, I want you to be my mentor, and tries to just jumpstart that process and just dive into it. It's going to be very different, right? Because
Wait.
over time that, sorry?
Go on. I was just
Okay,
writing
so
it down.
over time that you're approaching, the first approach is you're approaching it from an angle of over time I have a goal, right? When you make that approach, not carrying your goal in mind as the first thing, it's easier for you to build a solid foundation than say you just want to jumpstart the process. Oh, okay, boss, I'd like you to be my mentor. And then you just want to jump straight up into that mentorship. You tend to leave the foundations, getting to try to understand who this person is, how they work, the things that make them tick, all of that. You tend to skip that entire process. And that's the same thing if you translate it to post-event networking. So after you meet people and then you exchange numbers and then you exchange contacts and all, people feel to organically grow this relationship. Okay, I met this person seems great. And you just want to delve into it straight up, right? Another thing that people fail to realize is networking is hard work. It is really hard work because you have an end goal to the reason why you are networking, right? There is a reason why you're choosing to meet these people, and then you want to somehow either you want to have access to them or you want them in your life or something. There is always a reason. If you do not let that reason act as a foundation to get to build a relationship with these people, and relationship building is very important because if you do not build a relationship with this person, it's just going to be all crash and burn. It's either that or you guys just become a bunch of contacts that just view status and don't really talk. So those are some of the things that people do not really take note of.
So my question now is it a bad thing? Like if I go to an event, is it a bad thing to have an end goal to be like, the reason why I want to network with, let's take for example, people like Deja Vu, right? Now I'm using Deja Vu because we both know him. This is someone that is very conservative.
Yeah.
Like if I want to network with Deja Vu and my end goal is for this guy to give me jobs, right? That's my end goal. Now, is it a good thing to reach out to this guy and be like, my end goal is for you to give me jobs? Like having that at the back of your mind, is it like I feel is more of you're filtering people based on you're trying to use them for an end, and the end is just to get a job. That's what you're trying to use them for. Do you think that's like morally a good thing to do?
Okay, so first of all, morals are subjective, right? Um,
Okay.
Good or bad is defined by context, right? So, is killing a person morally bad? Yes. I mean, it's morally wrong. Is killing a person in self-defense morally bad? No, because I'm trying to protect myself. So, context is usually key. There's a difference between networking for the purposes of using and networking for the purpose of organically growing the relationship. So, if, for example, first of all, you have to understand that even in your attempt to network, you have to not come off as a person who just wants to take, right? But most people will tell you it's about value, give and take, give and take. So if you have an end goal, there has to be a place in that relationship where you come off as willing to give something, no matter how little, willing to give something to that relationship. Because there are people who would be able to see through what you're trying to do, especially when you talk of more established people who by default they already have their radars up. Okay, whoever is coming to me is coming with an expectation for something, right? There are people
Yeah.
like that whoever is trying to meet me is coming with an expectation for something. You need to be willing to transmit the message that, okay, fine, I might be coming for something, but I also have something to offer to you. You might not have need for what I have to offer, right? You might not have need for it. But the fact that I have something to offer already removes me from the level of a user. When people feel that a person is a user, they tend to be wary of being around them.
Mhm.
And if a person is wary of being around you, there is a problem because you cannot get full access to them, and then your goals and aspirations are dead in the water. So is it a bad thing to go out with a mindset of I need something? No. We all have mindsets that, if you deep it very well, place us as being selfish. Sure, man is intricately and intrinsically selfish. We think about ourselves first before other people. But the ability to also let the other person know that while I'm thinking about myself, I'm also thinking about how I can add value to you. Because
Mhm.
I mean, you don't do that. See ghosting. They will ghost you for free.
I had one question. It's just if you look at the people you have met at tech events now, you EK, right? How
Mhm.
many of them would you say you built? I know you are good at this, you're an extroverted person. So this is naturally who you are. right?
Yeah.
But either way, the people you
Mhm.
met at tech events, how like the relationship you have, would you say they have been profitable? Have you had to uh this guy is a fuck up guy. He's just glamour on Twitter, but in real life, have you like been able to filter all of that away from you, but like by yourself? Have you been able to like filter, okay, this person that I met at this event is good for these reasons, so I'm going to maintain that relationship. Like when and how have you done that in terms of, okay, I like this person, maintain that relationship. Like how are you maintaining that relationship?
I think I have a pretty good relationship with people I meet at virtual events, sorry, at events. And the reason is because for a very long time in my life, I have always learned to draw distinctions, right? So acquaintances from friends who should be in my close circle from who should not be in my close circle. And there's also the power of segmenting. So for example, if I meet you, chances of you making it into a private space like say WhatsApp would be limited. I would rather a platform where we can, talk and we don't have to be in our faces, but are not in our faces. I mean, that thing, for example, where you just come online and then this person is online and then you guys don't talk, but you guys are there. You don't want to do that because relationships die in natural deaths that way. Now, I'm talking about what works for me. I meet a person, we talk, oh, what's your Twitter handle? And then we add up, and then we talk on Twitter, for example. Now, generally, as a rule of thumb for me, I like to segment. I am not afraid to use the word acquaintance. I am not afraid to use the word friend. I'm not afraid to use the word a coworker. I'm not afraid to use the word a colleague. Because if we do not have these segregations, I feel if we are not able to segment people into categories they belong, there will be a problem in the end because you might have to want to live or approach them, all of them, the same way. Now, the way our relationship is, me and you, is totally different from the way me and someone at work. And it's not just because they are work colleagues, it's because I've been able to define the boundaries of how we operate, how we interact. Now, how do I keep relationships alive? So first of all, I would shade TikTok content creators, where people tell you if the
Yeah,
person has
yeah,
time
please.
to do this and all that. And I think there is this podcast wave, not this actual podcast that we're on, this one is solid.
Oh my
But
chest.
the podcast wave allows people to try to switch certain behaviors under the carpet. And this is it. Now, for me and for techies in general, it's a rat race because we are trying to either upskill, deliver on a timeline, things that keep our calendar going. And as such, we might not have the time to really have these one-on-one interactions, right? But it's imperative for me as a person, and that's why I don't joke with WhatsApp. Because if you make it on my WhatsApp list, on my contact list, status updates are a really great way for me, for example, to keep in touch with people. I always view status updates as the ultimate reminder. These technologies, these things exist to also make relationship and communication easier. You have all these things once in a while, if you remember, hit a person up. You feel up to it, a BC would do all those kind of things. It can be draining, right? It can be draining keeping in touch with people. Let's not even lie about that. It can be draining. But the long-term effects or the long-term gains outweigh the short-term benefits. Because in the long run, when people say position yourself as one of the ways you can, sell yourself in the market, right? And when I say sell yourself in the market, I mean like try to push your brand out
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
One of the ways you can do that is by being in people's faces, right? And how are you in their faces? By communication, any form of communication works. Any. Say, okay, this person made a post, like it, comment on it. This person made an update, talk about it, crack a joke or two, and we move on. And then somehow it keeps the both of you in the loop. Now we also
yeah,
look at the reasons why. For example, say I want a relationship with, for people that might be listening to the podcast, Druids, a very popular product designer in Nigeria, right? I want a relationship with Druids. But Druids would come off as a serious person, right? I'm being hypothetical. He
Hypothetical.
would
Yeah,
call
I was
me a
about to
serious
say that
person. Yeah,
hypothetically.
because he actually is not. Now, if I want to put myself in Druid's face and position myself for a for him to recommend me for a gig or for him to give me tips on how to get a gig, I would not be doing that by responding to his crew statuses, for example, right? I would do that by trying to sell myself in a way that positions me as a professional. That means that with my relationship with him, even though I'm trying to build it organically, I should be trying to posture myself as a professional. So that means he should be seeing a lot of my works, right? I should be maybe going to him for critique. Hi, Drit, what do you think about this? All of that. But if it's a relationship with, say, KD, Exocia, my guys, I'm not really going to dwell on coming off as a professional. All I need to do is post memes and they will respond and they will laugh. And we are talking and the conversation is flowing. So you look at both ways. The relationships are being fed, they're being attended to, but the approaches are different depending on and the difference in the approach is dependent on my end goal, what I want, you get. So that's it for me, how to shape relationships or how to keep relationships.
Especially like in this, this tech ecosystem where I think everybody's trying to sell a certain narrative of who they want people to think they are. Like on Twitter for a very long time. I think I said this with Zainab on the last episode. By the way, if you've not seen the last episode, go and see it. I was more like everybody's trying to sell an image of who they are. They're probably trying to organize themselves on Twitter to be professional, to avoid this. Maybe you're trying to approach us. Let's say
Mm.
you're trying to approach Lydia. Now you know her tweets, but it's mixed up, and you're trying to approach me. How would you approach me, and how would you approach Lydia in this situation?
For me, say we have the both of you, and let's use, for example, Twitter as our means of communication. So there are two people, Lydia and Dreams, two separate approaches to their online life. And then I want to sneak my way into their lives. What works for me, for example, is
Mhm.
it would be easier. In short, it's easy for both people, but the execution will be different. Now, let's say they say something. One of the ways you can always get a person interested in you, for example, is agree with them to a certain extent and then put a questionable, now we are using Twitter, for example, put a questionable or an arguable point of view while you're agreeing with them. The agreement draws them to you, and then the disagreement has them like, okay, who is this person? Why are they saying this? Let me engage. So let's
Wait, pause.
say,
Can I use this to toast Igbo women specifically?
if you walk,
Yeah, I'm taking
if you
notes.
walk.
Don't worry. Let's leave it to tech for now.
So,
Don't worry. Let's leave it to tech.
yeah. So basically, it usually works for me because I mean, it's either the person wants to engage you just for the part at which you agree, or the parts where you disagree. Now, for me, the disagreement or the disagreement is always, if I want to approach it, it's always slight in a way that we don't argue down the line unless you are deliberately misinterpreting what I'm saying. So let's say, ah, okay, so there's you make a point of view, right? So let's say you say UI is interface related, UX is research related, right? I could come and say, yes, I agree. UI is, interface related, but UX, you cannot create a good user experience without great visuals. Now, that argument might not really last, ideally, because I mean, the set of arguments will not be much because somehow, by virtue of how we are taught, we know that those two things are distinct. But we also know that your user experience will be better or will be better with great visuals. However, that 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 conflict, that disagreement clause that I put there is enough to, if you're somebody that is not overwhelmed with mentions or something, is enough to get you to want to engage. And then we might not really engage a lot, maybe one or two back and forth tweets, and it's all. Not relationship building as a long term. Now, you take that impatience and then you layer it with the fact that sometimes people want to interface or relate with the popular people. Now, is it a great goal? Yes, it is. Absolutely. You need them in your corner because, I mean, if they're popular, it's either they are way up the career ladder and they can offer you insights, right, into what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong. It's either they're way up or they are not way up. Say they are just popular by virtue of engagement, and their engagements can get you visibility. People want this kind of people in their lives because one way or the other you're benefiting. But you have to also realize that it's going to take a process. It's going to take a while because there are many people like you who are trying to gain their attention,
Yeah,
right? There are
I
many people
was
like
going
you.
there. There are many people doing
Yeah.
the
Okay,
same
so you
thing.
can just slide it in as a question. Let me just take it as also.
Now, there are many people doing the same thing, right? Now, in terms of standing out, what makes
Mm.
you be interesting enough for somebody to pick you out, like out of the many DMs, and I'd be like, this person is interesting enough that I want to give this person my WhatsApp number, or I want to engage more with this person.
First of all, your goals will determine, but more importantly, your personality will. Your goals and your personality. Now, if I am a fun person, for example, it's not even if I know I'm a fun person, I would find it easier to blend with maybe I'm aspiring for druids. I'd find it easier to blend with druids because druids knows how to balance pleasure, enjoyment, and work. If I am a nerdy person, in air quotes, say I love rigs, I love watching tech videos and all of that. Like I'm not saying design videos, for example, tech videos, like all those maybe unboxing, talk about engines and all of this.
Yeah, MKBHD, Linus Tech Tips, all those
Yeah, this
VP
kind of
Code
thing.
Fusion,
I
all those
find it
guys.
easy to relate to people. In the end, while there are lots of people who are also in the open pool for networking and all, the fundamental idea is being truthful. Being truthful.
So this is just a sidebar. EK, you're going to get a shirt as well. And yeah, when I come
Finally,
you're going to get a shirt. So when I come to Lagos, I'm going to bring your shirts. And also for people listening, right? Now, this people that listen to my podcast is a very small community of people. I know the numbers, right? They're like the people see it on Twitter, maybe think they're like 1 million people. Nah, we are probably like 167 on a good day, then 100, and less than that. So there's a good number of, it's a small community. So people listen, if you have topics, if you see someone interesting on Twitter and you know that, oh, this is interesting, if you want to like even be on the pod, right? You just let me know, like, why small community of people, they are not much, just let me know and we get it sorted. And this shirt, the merch as
yeah.
well, I'm printing a lot at the end of this month. It may be what will make me go broke, but you can you can please buy one or two. Is adverts, buy one or two. There are so many nice designs, but that's just it. You say last time Deja Vu cheated you on the match.
You cheated us now. And you refused to play the game again. Network was crazy.
Well, anyhow, yeah. Now you get your own match now. You know, that's good.
Without struggling with anyone.
That's struggling. See, got time, got time, got time. Yeah,
But
got time.
but away from that, here is the thing that I would chip in, right? For those who are seeking to network at events, always know that quality is better than quantity. The quality of connections you make is always better than quantity. If you meet 100 people and your end goal is not met, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you meet 5 people and then you feel like you've either reached your goal or they would help you achieve your goal. That's massive. That's really massive. I know I know we really run a game of numbers right now. Our life is a game of numbers right now. Like always, like would always be quantity. Sorry, it's always the quality of connections over the quantity of connections. So don't don't go into an event with the mindset that I want to network with everybody here. First of all, someone like me, I have a unique selling point. I have a USP. My name. When I tell somebody, "Hi, I'm Wages of Sin," everybody goes,
Exactly.
"Huh?" You understand? Yeah. Everybody
I've
goes,
heard somebody
"Huh?"
say, God forbid. Like I told
You
somebody,
get,
I'm about to jump on the call, my guy, which was saying we're playing game, and they're like, God forbid. Do you know what that is?
you get. It helps me because I mean, there is no way you hear it, and I don't really need to have you in my personal space after. I know that once we hear that thing, Wages of Sin, you're like, I've heard that name somewhere. I know that person somewhere. You get
Mm,
so networking also is also another thing to have at the back of your mind. Networking doesn't necessarily need to end in them ending in your space, right? No, that's the networking. So I go to an event, I meet you, for example. Networking doesn't necessarily mean that you end in mine. Networking, the ultimate goal of networking is to be able to leave an imprint, right? You don't necessarily need to be in my space. What's more valuable in networking is that you're able to see something unique about me because that is what is going to help you remember me. The ultimate goal of networking is to be able to put yourself in people's minds. And once you do that, you're you're successful.
mm, interesting. Really, like I don't leave my house all the time, but like the people that I talk to on regular basis are people that I've met at events or on online communities,
Mm,
like mostly road trippers. So like I
yeah.
basically talk to, let's say in a day, let's say I talk to 20 people. I swear 18 of those people are road trippers. Now that's very strange because it's just weird.
Yeah.
In a community, now I'm a road trip. You are part of so many online communities. You're part of the Invisibles. I see you post them a lot. If I see anybody else that's in the Invisible, I'll always ask them, "Do you know my guy, Wages of Sin? He's in the Invisible."
Yeah.
I will do that. But like
Yes.
now you're in the Invincibles. I'm sure you're in other community online communities on WhatsApp that you interact with. How do
Yeah.
you stay consistent with all these different communities? Because I
Ah,
can't.
it's draining. It is fucking draining. No, 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 no. See, there are some times where you just go off radar, and then you don't just want to talk anywhere. But I think your consistency in certain groups is a function of the value that you get there, right? I mean, the world could be burning around me, but if I see a message in the Invincibles, I would prioritize that message because I've learned a lot from that group, like actual learning away from football. I've learned a lot in that group. In short, as I yesterday, I learned something on macroeconomics. We are a football group, but we are talking macroeconomics. The
What did you
way,
learn?
if
What did you learn?
huh?
What did you learn?
Okay, so it was Hack Sultan's tweet, but you know where they said make a controversial was an unpopular opinion, and the Hack Sultan said I think he said it's easier to make $1 million in Nigeria than it is to make $1 million in the UK, right? So, we talked about a couple of things, you know, your tax, your mortgages, you know, all of those things, quality of life. It was just a whole conversation. So that I could not even finish because I slept off. I had to start it to go back to it. Now, that kind of community would have me actively engaged because I know that whatever comes from there impacts on me. It does. The communities I belong to that it's only when I filter my messages to unread, the ones I've not read
Ouch.
that, oh,
You do
okay,
that?
actually have, oh, yeah,
Mm,
yes.
wow. I need to learn.
When you go to search, normally your search, when it comes to messages, your search this here, you click on search, you see the filters. You can filter by unread, you can filter by archive or something. So
Damn.
it's only when I check my unread, I'll be like, oh, okay, wow, I've not read this. Understand? So stay consistent is a function of getting value. That's the thing. It doesn't matter how. lit a community is. It could be very lit, but for you, if it doesn't meet a goal, if it doesn't add value to you, you will just be blare about it. Like, it's just regular. And value is subjective. I mean, so
How about you giving
staying,
value back to the community? Like, how about you like giving them value enough?
yeah.
You know,
First of all, communities are about, giving and receiving. In short, that's basically like giving and receiving. Here is the catch. Sometimes it might feel like, what's the word? It might feel like, should I use the word, a brain drain? When you're constantly giving is not the issue. What might be the issue for some people is when there is a gulf in, like, the onus would always be on you to turn up. It can be draining. If you have that mentality that somehow they always expect you to be the one to turn up, it can be draining. It helps shape your approach to the group. But essentially, the ultimate goal of relationships, oh sorry, of communities, the ultimate goal, that's as regards contributing to communities, and how you stay relevant is that you have to feel value should be a better word. You have to feel valued, right?
mm,
Because whether you're learning or whether you're educating, if you don't feel like your input is
is valued
valuable,
enough? Is like as important as you take it?
yeah, it you could just shut
You
down
most likely
from the
withdraw.
community.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just sleep away and then you don't have anything to do with them. So yeah, that's it.
yeah,
So staying
yeah.
staying active and staying active in communities helps you too, because I mean, it's you pushing yourself into the faces of people. It's you pushing yourself into the faces of people. That's it.
Mm. Another thing that I feel at least is being active in communities that that the people that you would like to network in are within these communities. Oh shit, there
Yes.
goes my neighbors and their generator. Anyhow, uh, like staying active in communities where people are like people that you would like to connect with are there within those communities, like interacting with their tweets or not with their posts within the communities, their comments, trying to add value to their own comments. That can also make it easy to slide into their DM. So, like one of the reasons that I solely believe Roadtrip has grown so much is interpersonal relationship with each other. Like when it was so easy for anybody to slide into someone's DM and the other person can have a whole last conversation for one night. You may not talk for the next 3 weeks, but by the time you guys are on WhatsApp group, like you are definitely together, like you are gisting. Even when you see maybe once in like a tech event or somewhere, you are definitely connecting because like that interpersonal relationship of being able to slide into people's DMs
Bro, this
from
thing you're
groups.
talking about is not about interpersonal relationship again. It's not about that. So it's not about that again. One lie, one lie, because that example was too specific. You cannot talk with a guy all through the night, and then no, no, no.
No,
This
now
talk was definitely not.
no, no, no. Like, see, now, Iron to me is my party, right? Now, let me give an example. To me
Yeah.
is my party. Now, Iron to me, we hang out often, right? Time to time, we hang out, we chill. I
I've
go
not
to
even
her
seen her
house.
online in a while.
Exactly. You see? But I know where she is because she's my guy. She gets. So now, I'm raising shoulder now. So,
Wait, before you continue, is she online? Is it another number or
she's online. She's online. She's online. No, she's online. She's
or
online.
even bother? Yeah.
So now, the why I am to me like talk is one time on road trip. People are like people that are quiet. All of a sudden, they're like to me it's quiet and to me it's in Ife. I'm like, oh nice. And I wanted to connect with her. So I just basically slid into her DM and we started chatting. Then we chatted for a while and that was it. And then one random day like that, I went to see her in her house in Ife. And we started talking and we just talked about tech. It was just random, talked about tech and all of that. And it was dope. And then we went back. Then one evening, because I was intentional, I'm like, I want these girls to be my friend. So now I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm going to ask her for food. And I asked her, hey, Tumi, what's up? Did you cook? And she was like, yeah, I cooked. I'm like, I want rice. Hunger want to pieces me like this. I want to eat rice. Do you have rice? Can I come and collect rice? She was like, oh, don't worry now. I'll package it for you. Boom. She packaged it for me and she gave me food. Now, the back story there was her container will be in my house. So she's definitely going to DM me for the container. So after eating the food, to me, if you're hearing this story, I sincerely apologize in the future. So after eating the food, I went to that guy, this food is nice or it's amazing. And I left the container. I shall watch your containers in my house. And I was like, yeah. So 2-3 days later, she was like, how far? I'm coming around your side. Let me come and collect my container. Nice. I was going to see her again. Like my intention was for to me to be my friend, where somebody I can, have like a backup. That was only me in Ife, someone I could have a backup to and just go into their place in Ife and just build that
Yeah.
relationship. And that was my intention. And it worked out. It's like, you see, I and Sumina, we hang out, she comes to my house, we chill. I go to her house and she prepares food for me and I enjoy her food. So yeah, it did work out. Yeah.
No problem. One of these days, I'm going to enter Ife and come and hang out. Wait, Ife to Ibadan is how long?
800, it used to be 800 naira. It used to be 500 naira. Now it's 800.
When I heard 8, I thought you were about to say 8 hours. I was about to go all.
Nah.
What?
You can leave Ibadan around like 12, get if around like 3 or 2:30. It's not that far. Mm-hmm. It's very, very near. So you can come around, guy. I moved to a new place, so it's bigger, there's space, even though it's only me. Hi, before we get back into the pod, this podcast is sponsored by Nairoption. Now, Nairoption so misinforming young Nigerians about politics, startups, tech founders, stories of interesting Nigerian youths like you, maybe you, maybe you, maybe. However, they have a podcast and they also give out news about stock exchange. Now, I'm very serious about this because Nairoption is fun to read. They distill articles that are about stock exchange, market value, interesting political news that's happening for young Nigerians, to young Nigerians, by young Nigerians. And it's fun, check out their podcast and their Instagram handles to find out more information. But like, trust me, honestly, it is fun. Yeah, with that being said, let's get back into the pod. I'm looking for who to share it with. But well, for people listening on Spotify or any other listening platform, you can see how this podcast has become a very interesting gist between I and Nikki. So I'm just going to do room tour. Uh,
Yeah.
just by the way.
Let me see your place.
So here is the chair. At least my background has changed. So for everybody that has given me feedback to change my background, I
God.
have. So I moved to this place. So here's my bed. This was the
Yeah.
clothes I was wearing, but I changed it so that I can advertise the merch. So that's my bed.
Yeah.
That's another couch that I sleep
Your
on.
curtains,
And
your
whenever I sleep
curtains
on
are
that couch,
fine.
that's my kini. I discover myself. Then this is like bathroom, obviously. I
Yes.
just keep markers here that I used to draw. And I keep my phone here. So in case I'm playing music, I'm bathing, and one ugly song enter my playlist, I'll just easily commot it. So
Don't worry. Very soon it will be me doing my own tour like this.
exactly.
That's your people.
And this is just basically the kitchen. It's noise. There's noise everywhere. So yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
my
Your place is your
wardrobe.
place is your place is nice.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wait,
Thank
at
you.
least at least now you are not having to share space with your other floor
Exactly.
arrangement.
Exactly. I don't have to do that anymore. I can stay in my house and not leave for 1 week because everything is here. It's beautiful. uh,
It's great. Okay.
Yeah, so that's just by the way. To be honest, I have finished. If there's any other thing to share at this point in time, it's basically just personal experiences with like connecting with people and having like a connections that have worked out. If you have any personal experience with people you have met on online events and you'd want to share, I would like to hear that.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let me try to narrow it to tech. So there's somebody, although we had met on a very different platform years ago when we disconnected. Her name is Queenette Kachi. She's a designer, a product designer, a really badass one. She's King David's, at least King David knows her. So yeah. we knew from way back in Uyo, right? And then after a while, we had not spoken in like maybe 5 years, 4 5 years. And I saw her at UDC last year. Yes, I saw her at UDC last year, and I was like, "Oh, isn't this?" And then we got back, and she's been quite helpful. There is a small group we have. It's called the Solid 10, where we try to set goals, and then we try to work towards it. And that was because I got to meet her. I got to know of that kind of accountability group. So that turned out really well, right? That turned out really well. Then for who else? Who else did I say? Okay, there was also someone I met online. Funny enough, I don't know his actual name. I just saved his name as data science on my phone because that was when I was trying. That was when I was trying to learn data science before I got into design. And then he helped me with materials and helped me with stuff. And then from Twitter, we moved to WhatsApp. And then we talk, right? We talk. I think his name is Habib. His name is Habib, actually. So we talk, right? Quite a lot, you get. So there is that. Who else would I use? Of course, road trippers. Come on, road trippers are the best, Uh, there is that. I've also had a couple of people who I have met online that I haven't grown the relationship because of the nature of how I want the relationship to be. Now, for those who don't know me, when it comes to my personal space, and those people are in my personal space, so when I say personal space, like WhatsApp, that's how personal I can be. When it comes to my personal space, I'm very unserious, right? I'm very unserious.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
those
very
people,
obvious for all of us.
and those people are the serious type. And I don't know how to make the switch from unserious to serious. No matter how hard I try, I just can't. Like, I've always been of the school of thoughts that, like, WhatsApp is just a place to come and catch crews and decongest. And I just, that's how I approach it. So I know that those ones are because I am yet to, you know, approach them the way I know would work. And that is my own call to make, right? But they're just there, they're just in the background watching and all of that. For you especially, you would know now, I talk about Gottfried a lot. Um,
Yeah.
Gottfried is a badass. He's
Please,
really great. I
please,
met him.
once this episode is out, please tell him to listen to it and tell him that I'm a
Yeah.
fan. I'm a big fan. I have referred
You
three
should,
people to
I will
his.
try to talk to him to have him on your show. I'll talk to him to I met Gottfried online through a road tripper who is his cousin, that's Toby. And Gottfried has been one of the best things that have happened to me on the internet. He's really cool. He There was a time we had a bet where I had to revamp my LinkedIn profile. If not, I would have to give him something I can't mention, that kind of thing. But he's kind of person that calls, Ike, I saw this thing, are you interested in it and all of that? And it came from the internet. And those are the kind of relationships I've had that have come as a result of networking for me. And I mean, in Godfrey's case, I think he even started as fan. I just told him straight up, I'm a big fan and I want to be your friend. That kind of thing. And it just happened because I actually really wanted to be his friend. So I've been blessed to have met people who, play a huge part in my story today via networking. And the list is a lot. Is a
Yeah,
lot. But those are the ones I can think
that's
of the top of
that's
my
dope.
head.
That's dope. Yeah. So what are do's and don'ts? So just give me like three do's and three don'ts. Those are actionable steps that people would have in mind when wanting to like interact with someone else on the internet. And I want to make that relationship worthwhile, most especially in this context of product design.
First of all, be organic about it, especially if it is, if the person you're looking to is of the same sex as you, because as humans, we tend to be a bit biased towards people of the opposite sex. Understand that networking is a long-term thing. It's a long-term game. Have realistic expectations. Have realistic expectations. It's going to be very hard for you to want to connect with somebody like Druid and say you want to be his friend overnight. It's going to be hard. You get, I'm running with the popular assumption that popular people take some time to get back to you, because I mean they're always inundated with requests, mentions and all of this. Always try your best to have something to give. That's always the butter on the bread. You have something to. In my case, for most people I've networked with, is the fact that I have memes to give on WhatsApp. You come to my status for comic relief. I'm a giver.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do that. I make sure I view your status every day. Like I just go, I'm like, okay, today is a good day I'm stressed. Let's see what AK has to offer. Yeah.
You get. So, but that's on the lighter side. But basically, have something to offer. They might not necessarily need it, but the fact that you have that thing to offer already places you on a pedestal, right? Don't feel entitled to anything, no matter how bad you want it. Don't feel entitled to their time, to their resources, to their network, to the clique. Don't feel entitled to it. It's a process, right? You have to work towards it. So do not feel entitled to it. That's the biggest don't I will give. Number two, don't appear desperate. Do not appear desperate, because people will run away from you if you appear desperate. Your intentions might be pure. You might have good intentions that do not harm anybody. But the fact that you come off as desperate might be a red flag for some people. Networking is some sort of sucking up to somebody. That's the unfiltered version of what networking is. Sucking up to somebody. Do not overdo it. It could be a turn off. If you figure that out, it's a huge turn off. Maybe in the name of networking, you become a total yes sir kind of person. This person says something, yes sir. This person says yes ma'am. That kind of thing. So do not do it in such a way that it comes off as sucking up to, you're literally lapping out whatsoever they do or say. You should be able to have your independence of thoughts, of reason, of action, that kind of thing. Yeah, those are the things I would say.
Okay. Yeah. You've heard the people. That comes to the. Is it the end of the pod? That comes towards the end of the pod. I honestly don't have much again to say.
To the end. Say that comes to the end.
That comes to the end of the pod. Yeah, I really don't have much to say again. I feel it was helpful to me. Like my listeners are small. Like you people that are listening to my podcast, trust me, I know the numbers. They are small people. So trust me, you can always send a DM, comments, and let me know what you want to hear and who you want to hear from and topics you would like to have just us discuss about. That'll be fun. Honestly, that'll be fun. You get me in it. With that being said, people of God, welcome to the pod. See you on the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with somebody you love.
Yeah.
Yeah.